So, you're back to watch me suffer.
Yo, what's up guys, it's Untitled Chapter here, back again with another challenge video. Today, we're going to be playing Pokemon Emerald with only a Poochyena. This was a pretty good challenge in my opinion. It was requested by someone in the comments, so make sure you guys keep leaving your suggestions in the comments because they really do help. Because sometimes it's hard to try to come up with an idea for a challenge to think of, but luckily to you guys, you tell me what you want to see, and then I can produce the best content that I can. So, with the rules of this challenge, they're going to be the same as last time. So yeah, no held items, stuff like that. The only held item we'll have is the Everstone. But Scott Reynolds, this is the guy that said, can you beat Pokemon Emerald with only a Poochyena? So starting off with his level 2 Zigzagoon fight, which I think is a Poochyena as well as I am in the other games, Ruby and Sapphire. We take it out pretty easily, and looking at our stats, we have like pretty okay stats, I guess. Not as good as a normal starter. But for moves, we just got Tackle and Howl. Tackle being your normal tackle move, and then Howl is going to raise our attack. So, first thing we got to do is fight May above Oldale Town. And she has Mudkip because I modified the game so the Torchic would be replaced with Poochyena. Because if I replace Trico, then it would be really hard because she would have a Blaziken, and that would be like really bad for me because I'll be weak to it. Mudkip would be just pretty balanced outright, so I chose that. And in this first fight, we were actually getting like pretty destroyed. We got down to 1 HP, but we managed with one more tackle to get rid of Mudkip. So at this point, we were level 7 because we're weaker, and I wanted to make sure we'd be able to beat it, but I mean, we barely did. But the first gym battle we're going to go to is Roxanne, and she has a level 12 Geodude, which I was kind of worried about. I got up to level 16 at this point, but for some reason I thought that Bite was not very effective. I think it was in Fire Red or Leaf Green or something, but yeah, Bite, it's a pretty good move to use against these Pokemon. So with just 2 bites, that's strong enough to get rid of Geodude. So with taking him down, Roxanne actually has another one. So we do pretty much the same thing, but we actually get a critical hit, so that helps out a lot. And next up is going to be Nosepass.
2 levels later.
So yeah, I didn't really go over it, but Nosepass was very difficult other than the 2 Geodudes, which like we barely even lost any health on. With a lot of failed attempts and 2 level ups, we made it back. So the problem with Nosepass is Rock Tomb, even though the accuracy isn't that good, he or she seemed to be hitting every single shot on me. So, and it did a lot to me. But using Bite doesn't do quite as much as I hoped, because on Geodude it did like well over half health. But luckily for me, you'd think that Nosepass having that Oranberry is bad, but it was actually a good thing for me because it made it so Roxanne didn't heal up. So using some Howls to boost my attack, I had to do that because Nosepass has pretty good defense. So after over and over, just repeating Bite over and over and over and over and over, we finally took out Nosepass. And even though this gym wasn't really that hard, it just took forever. I didn't really want to level up too high, because I mean it's only the first gym, but we had to move on to the right to retrieve I think the Devon goods. But this is the first, besides Petalburg Forest, or Woods, this is our first true encounter with the antagonists of the game, which is Team Aqua and Team Magma. But after moving on past there, we make it to gym number 2, which is Brawly, the fighting type gym. And at this point, we're level 33 because they're super effective on us, and Poochyena's speed isn't really that good. So it was looking pretty bad for us, but luckily by now, we learned the move Takedown, which has some recoil damage, so it's not like the best move in the world for me. But it does 90 power, and that's going to be really good on these fighting types because their defense isn't that good. But after that, we move on to Slateport City and have another encounter with Team Aqua. And this time, They have some water types, and I mean, I'm level 33, they're level 14. It's honestly no challenge for me, so we just move on to the May fight right after that. And this is what some people say the hardest rival battle fight in any video game. But that's only really true if you started out with a Trico, because her Blaziken is just so overpowered. But since we replaced Torchic, it's not too bad of a rival fight. We just got to level 34, and she's still in her like high teens to low 20s. So we make it onto Slugma, and Takedown is just really good at this point. It could just one-shot stuff like that. So we defeated May, and next is quite possibly the easiest battle I've ever done, which is Wally. I just one-shot him and moved on. You didn't have to think about it. You could have been like blind and deaf and just boom, done. So yeah, we're moving on into the third gym, which is the electric gym, Watson. At this point, I was trying like from level 34, I think it was, all the way up to level 43, attempting over and over and over, and I just wasn't strong enough. Like, I think I was strong enough to beat him, but with Magneton and Bite and Takedown, like, those moves were both not very effective. So I made it up to level 43 where I learned Crunch, and that just did the little help that I needed, because Crunch is a stronger move than Bite. So, while it's still not very effective, after a while, we can manage to take Magneton out. But first, we get paralyzed, and we're well below half health. And every Crunch does like maybe a fifth of Magneton's health. But with some Sonic Booms, we are pretty much about to die. But we finally finish off Magneton and get pretty much no XP, which we deserve way more than that, because that was like pretty hard for this point in the game. But his last Pokemon is Manectric, and of course, since it's electric type, it's going to be faster than me. So I'm pretty much locked at this point. Like, I can't beat it at level 43 because I'm getting outsped. So I got a couple levels higher at 48, and that was pretty much necessary because I would be able to get to this point in the battle without being in red health about to die. So now we enter the fight with Manectric, and we're almost full health. But after a few shockwaves, which gets us down pretty low, we're able to not get stuck in paralysis and use Crunch. And that's just enough to take out Manectric and beat the third gym in the Hoenn region. So, moving on after this, we had to catch another Miltank because we needed HM Slave. And yeah, Miltank, quote, quote. We just got another duplicate Poochyena pretty much, and named it Miltank, because why not? So, now we are at the top of Mount Pyre. Oh wait, not Mount Pyre, I forgot what it's called. Whatever, we're just fighting Team Magma up on this mountain cliff thing. And we actually fight the leader, Maxie, and he's pretty strong, not gonna lie. He almost takes us out, but we move down into Lava Ridge Town, and Flannery's next, the Fire-type gym. And at this point, we're level 50, so halfway to level 100, which I plan not to reach in this playthrough, because that's just, I don't know, it's not that cool. But this gym isn't really that bad. I mean, we're not super effective, but at the same time, Crunch is such a strong move. It does like 95 power or something. And these fire types, I guess their defense isn't the best because most of our Pokemon are getting either 1 or 2 shot. But when we make it up to Torkoal, he's kind of more of a tank Pokemon, and he's level 29. So a Crunch does only about a third HP. And Flannery used Sunny Day to get the heat out. I'm pretty sure that's to make Overheat do way more, but that doesn't matter to us because we get a critical hit, getting exactly 1000 XP, and that is the end of the 4th gym. So at this point, there's nothing really else to do but to move on straight to the 5th gym, Norman, which is back in Petalburg. So we just cut straight there. And at this point, we're level 58, and with this gym, it's really hard, honestly, because I just went from level 50 to 58, because I kept trying, and I would get close. I would get to Linoon, the last Pokemon, but just like in the Igglybuff run, I was getting barely outsped. So at this point, I'm still kind of getting destroyed. I mean, I'm only at 16 health, but luckily for us, I'm still, at this point, faster than Linoon. But, yeah, that's what I thought. I just got destroyed with Facade. So, 3 levels higher, level 61, we enter the challenge again. And at this point, we're a bit more suited to make it to the last Pokemon, Linoon, because we have so much more health. So, luckily, we get a critical hit and don't have to worry about that. So, next up is the Weather Institute, where we have another encounter with Team Aqua. And at this point, I mean, I don't know what the game developers were thinking, because like, oh, here's some really strong Pokemon that are really difficult. And then you move on past that in the game, and you get junk like this, that like, you could literally be half asleep, just pressing the A button, and boom, you win. So, I don't really know what the game developers are thinking right now, but yeah, that was pretty easy. So, our next challenge is another rival battle with May. And her team isn't looking too strong either. Her levels are like okay, but we're level 61, so we don't really have to worry about her too much. Crunch is almost a one-shot, even though we're not super effective. But yeah, her team isn't really too well balanced right now. I mean, she's got 2 water types. It doesn't make much sense. But Winona, the flying type gym, I think it's the 6th gym, is next up. And she really isn't that hard, other than the fact that she has 5 Pokemon. But Tropius is using Sunny Day. Unlike Flannery to get the heat out, it's to get Solar Beam, a very powerful move to work. But luckily we take him out first, and this Pelipper is really annoying because it just spams Protect and wastes my time. But we get stuck in confusion on Skarmory, which I think is from Pelipper's Water Pulse or something. But yeah, we end up getting taken out by Skarmory, mainly because it's a Steel type, and we don't have anything really good on it. But eventually we make it past whatever called Skarmory and onto Altaria, and Altaria isn't really that hard. So, defeating Winona, we make it onto this part of the game where we see Groudon, but it's kind of like Game Freak and Nintendo just teasing us a little bit. We don't get Groudon right now, not until the after game. So yeah, this is with the blue orb that activated, but of course Maxie is extremely angry at us for no reason, so yeah, we gotta fight him again. He's definitely stronger than last time though. He's almost up into the level 40s. But we managed to just pretty much spam takedown over and over because Crunch isn't gonna be super effective. It's dark on dark to Mightyena. But we actually get down to 6 HP, like very close to death because of that Crobat. But with a lucky critical hit Crunch, we barely defeat Maxie. So next up, instead of Team Magma we gotta fight, it's Team Aqua. Who could ever guess that? But something kind of surprising is Team Aqua is much weaker than Team Magma. They only have 2 Pokemon, they're both level 34. Like, I just had to fight a Crobat, Camerupt. Like, I don't know what that's about, but now we're up to the 7th gym, Tate and Liza the twins. And of course, like the other playthrough, you are required to have 2 Pokemon when you fight this. So I got my, quote, Miltank to be in the fight with me, but I don't want to cheat, really. So I made sure that my other Poochyena would only use the moves Howl, which would raise my attack, so that doesn't give me any advantage. But we actually end up getting pretty much destroyed. So I level up a bit more and try it again. But yeah, we're just like kind of getting demolished at this point, where I have to just like, oh, I lose, so I give myself another level up. Oh, I lost again. Time to go train and do this. But at one point, I could use pretty much Crunch or Shadow Ball, but that'll just take them out one by one. So Solrock, I managed to take out with just 1 Crunch. And same thing with Lunatone, but I was actually waiting to take Xatu out. because of previous attempts. I realized that taking it out first wasn't my best bet. But eventually, I took both of them out, and that was it for Tate and Liza, the 7th gym. And I'm surprised the other Poochyena didn't even die. But now, the insane storm part just happened with pretty much all the storyline of the game. And we make it to the last gym fight of this file, which is surprisingly a water gym. But pretty much we don't have... Actually, yeah, we only had one gym throughout this whole playthrough where we were super effective. But Crunch and Takedown are such strong moves that I'm not really too worried about that. So with these water types, I can just use Crunch and Shadow Ball mainly. And they're such good moves that I could take them out. But unfortunately, a critical hit was on me, and I got taken out by Crawdon. So, on another attempt, we make it past that, I think a few levels higher. And Kingdra is the last Pokemon, which is just spamming moves to make my attacks have a lower chance of hitting. But that doesn't really matter, because I end up hitting him anyway. But that takes out Kingdra, who is the last Pokemon of the last gym. So now the only thing left, the Elite Four. I tried this at the same level I was at, pretty much, but I wasn't really doing too well. So I got up to level 94, which I felt was a bit more fair, and not just going to level 100. But now, I have a bit different moveset. I have the move Return, which is happiness based, and that's going to help me a lot throughout this. And I pretty much use this a lot of the time, because Sydney, this Elite Four member, specializes in Dark type, and Crunch is a Dark move, and Ghost is Shadow Ball, so those aren't really going to do that much for me. So I pretty much just stick with using Return on everything. And in previous attempts, I would get stuck in a Torment by this Crawdon, but luckily this time that didn't happen. And if you noticed, I also have the move Toxic this time, which previously was Sand Attack, but I realized that I was never really using Sand Attack. I was just using attack moves only. So I just got rid of that and put in Toxic. As for this late in the game, it's a much better idea. But finally on Absol, the last Pokemon, a final Return is enough to take it out. And that's it for basically a fifth of the Elite Four. So that's it for Sydney. And next up is Phoebe, who specializes in Ghost-type Pokemon, which is really good news for us because we could pretty much the entire time spam Crunch. But this Dusclops or whatever is pretty much a waste of space. All it does, for the most part, is just spam Protect. It doesn't even try to attack you. But unlike Fire Red version and Leaf Green, these Pokemon don't use the move Hypnosis a bunch. In the other games, Gengar was there to just spam Hypnosis and use Dream Eater and stuff. But this time around, it's a bit different. So, Sableye has no super effective moves towards it because of its type. So, we just started using Shadow Ball over and over. If I used Return, it would say it doesn't affect Sableye. And Crunch, I decided not to use it. So, next up is Bayonet. And Crunch, I mean, super effective. I'm like 40 levels higher, so that's just going to take it out. And after Bayonet, the final Pokemon is going to be another Dusclops, and it's pretty much just as easy as the last one. Luckily, it didn't use Protect. And with a critical hit that I don't think was necessary, I took out Phoebe, the second person of the Elite Four. And next up is going to be the Ice person, Glacia. And in my other run, she was actually extremely difficult, but this time around it's not as bad. But Celio is up first, and I just decided to use Return, just to get some good power on it. And I made sure to not just spam Crunch the entire time. Oh, critical hit, by the way. Because I didn't want to just spam Crunch because I have a limited amount of moves I can use. Because I can heal outside of the battle, obviously, but in a fight, I can't use stuff like healing moves. I can only use X items, which I don't really do that at all, I don't think. But on these Pokemon, I use Return most of the time, and it seems to do the job, pretty well. But some Pokemon like Glalie, for example, managed to outstand it. And I was getting low on crunch, but I decided to use it because I get that attack bonus. But this Glalie somehow is faster than me, even though I'm 44 levels higher. But another crunch, that's enough to take it out. And next up in the fight, third Pokemon is going to be Celio. Another Celio. And I think this is the game pretty much just telling you that you're going to see a Walrein coming up next. But same as the last one, I just use Return. And that seems to almost do the job well. But I got kind of scared here because it used Hail. And it was going to plan on using Blizzard probably. But lucky for me, I go first. Because I'm like 42 levels higher. So with the Hail still going, and another Glalie, which, I mean, there's like no variety in this team. I just go with another Return, and like earlier, get outsped by Glalie. But surprisingly to me, I didn't even outlive that. I was taken out. So I made it back to the same point, but this time I had a bit more health than before. So Ice Beam wasn't enough to take me out, and I used Crunch. And luckily for me, I got a critical hit, which was pretty much required, because if that did like half health, then it would have used Ice Beam again and taken me out. So with Walrein, at this point, I was pretty much dead. I had no idea what I was going to do because I was in the low red health. So yeah, it just used Surf, Rip Pooch. And finally, I managed to take out that final dang Walrein. So next up was Drake, the fourth person. And I was kind of scared at this point, honestly. So I looked through my bag and found my last bit of rare candies that I had accumulated throughout this playthrough. And that was about 4, so I got up to level 98. And I didn't really have a strategy going into this fight. So I just started using Return over and over. And that seemed to do the job not too badly on Shelgon. And next up was Altaria, which I was actually like really scared of. But to my surprise, Return did almost put Altaria in the red health. I thought it was just gonna spam moves like Sword Dance or Dragon Dance or whatever, and just take me out. But no, that's what Kingdra did. Kingdra took me out. So I went back to this point and realized that I would have to get a critical. So I just kept playing until I got a critical hit. And this was pretty much an all-luck battle, because I need to get a critical hit on Altaria and on Kingdra to remain this high of a health at this point. So up next was Flygon, and I just used Return. It did like quite a lot of damage, but at the same time I was really low. But I made it to the last Pokemon, Salamence, and sadly he has Intimidate. So as you guys just read, I got obliterated, and I realized I had to go back to Flygon and get a critical hit. That means in order to beat Drake with my current move pool, I had to get 3 critical hits in a row. And then I don't think I needed to on Salamence, but I just managed to get one anyway with the power of Nintendo Kev luck. And next up was the champion, which is Wallace. So, on Wailord, I thought I was going to use Water Spout and ruin my career, but luckily that didn't happen. So, with 2 returns, I was able to get it down, and I think I just used Rain Dance, but next up was Tentacruel, and Tentacruel isn't going to be that difficult for me. I can just use moves like Return, and that's pretty much all I got to do, honestly. So, next up is Ludicolo, and I pretty much have no strategy. I just use Return again, and that almost does the job. But on pretty much all of his Pokemon, I guess I could use Crunch, but I think it's going to do less than Return, and Return seems to be doing the job just fine. So I just go with that for almost the entire time. But I realize I have 2 Pokemon left, and I'm only at 30 HP, so I pretty much have to one-shot both of them, or I'm going to get attacked and killed, and that's what happened. So I made it back to Gyarados. This time, I got a bit more lucky with a critical hit early on in the fight with Wish Cash, I think. And I managed to be at 130 HP still instead of the low red. And I got a critical hit on Gyarados, which was pretty much required. in order for me to win, but unexpectedly for me, I just used a Shadow Ball on Melodic because I was like almost out of returns, and I just took it out. Like, I didn't even expect that was gonna happen. I wasn't even prepared to go into that Hall of Fame or anything. But yeah, I just got like extremely lucky right there. So if you guys enjoyed that challenge that ended pretty weirdly, honestly, leave a comment down below with any suggestions for upcoming videos, because I'm getting some things done with my setup right now that's going to allow me to improve my video quality more. And I have my Elgato still, and I'm going to try to get that working with my computer, which means potential filming for the Let's Go games and Sword and Shield when they come out. So that's really good news for the channel. So just leave a comment with what you want me to use next time, what game, and as always, if you enjoyed the video, like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell, and we'll see you guys next time.